Breaking news shaking the global economy. A U.S. appeals court has ruled that most of President Donald Trump's tariffs are illegal, with a 7-4 decision. The court has struck at the very heart of Trump's second-term economic strategy, his aggressive use of tariffs as a foreign policy weapon. But what does this ruling mean for America's economy, global trade, and the future of presidential powers? Today, we're breaking it all down: how we got here, what the court said, Trump's response, and why the Supreme Court may soon step in. Stay tuned. On August 29, 2025, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit issued a landmark ruling. Most of Donald Trump's tariffs are not legal. The decision came after months of legal challenges filed by small businesses and Democratic-led states, who argued that Trump had exceeded his authority under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, by a 7-4 margin. The judges ruled that the statute does not grant the president unlimited authority to impose tariffs, duties, or taxes even during a declared national emergency. For now, the court allowed the tariffs to remain in place until October 14th, giving Trump's administration time to appeal to the Supreme Court. But make no mistake, this ruling is a direct rebuke of Trump's approach to trade policy. To understand the magnitude of this decision, we need to rewind. Since his return to office, Donald Trump has made tariffs a pillar of U.S. foreign policy. He argued that tariffs could reduce America's trade deficit, strengthen U.S. manufacturing, and pressure other nations like China, Canada, and Mexico into making economic concessions. In April 2025, Trump imposed what he called reciprocal tariffs, targeting countries that exported more goods to the U.S. than they imported. Then, in February, he slapped additional tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico, claiming they weren't doing enough to stop fentanyl from crossing the border. Supporters said the tariffs gave the U.S. leverage. Critics argued they were reckless, raising costs for businesses and consumers while creating global uncertainty. The heart of the case comes down to how far a president can stretch an old law. The International Emergency Economic Powers Act, passed in 1977, was designed to give presidents tools to deal with unusual and extraordinary threats during national emergencies. Historically, it was used to freeze assets or impose sanctions on hostile nations, not to slap tariffs on allies or trading partners. The court wrote, the statute bestows significant authority on the president to undertake a number of actions in response to a declared national emergency, but none of these actions explicitly include the power to impose tariffs, duties, or taxes. In other words, Congress never gave the president this power, and under the Constitution, it is Congress, not the White House, that controls taxation and tariffs. Donald Trump, unsurprisingly, blasted the ruling. On Truth Social, he called the appeals court highly partisan and warned that removing tariffs would be a total disaster for the country. But he struck a note of confidence, predicting that the Supreme Court would step in and overturn the decision, allowing tariffs to stay in place permanently. For Trump, tariffs are not just an economic tool, they're a political weapon, central to his brand of nationalism and America First foreign policy. The economic fallout is complicated. On one hand, tariffs allowed Trump to extract concessions from trading partners, but they also fueled volatility in the stock market and raised prices for businesses reliant on imports. Art Hogan, chief strategist at B. Riley Wealth, warned, the last thing the market or corporate America needs is more uncertainty on trade. Meanwhile, William Reinsch of the Center for Strategic and International Studies suggested the administration expected this outcome and is preparing a plan B, perhaps using different statutes to justify keeping tariffs in place. And this is only one piece of the puzzle. Trump is also locked in a legal battle with the Federal Reserve, attempting to remove Governor Lisa Cook, raising fears he may undermine the central bank's independence. Economists warn this creates an unprecedented collision course between Trump's economic agenda and the Supreme Court, something America has never seen before. All eyes now turn to the Supreme Court. The High Court has a 6-3 conservative majority, and in recent years, it has often sided with Trump's policies, but it has also shown skepticism toward broad reinterpretations of old statutes to grant presidents new powers. If the court sides with Trump, it could cement an expansion of presidential authority over trade and taxation. If it rules against him, it will reaffirm that Congress, not the White House, controls tariffs. Either way, the decision will reshape not just trade policy, but the balance of power between the branches of government. So what does this all mean for ordinary Americans? If tariffs fall, imported goods from electronics to clothes could become cheaper, but it could also weaken Trump's leverage in renegotiating trade deals. And if the Supreme Court takes the case, uncertainty could drag on 4 months, spooking markets and businesses. This isn't just about legal fine print, it's about how America engages with the world, and whether one president can unilaterally reshape global trade with the stroke of a pen. The appeals court ruling against Trump's tariffs is a turning point, one that could redefine not only trade policy, but the very limits of presidential power. As October 14th approaches and the Supreme Court looms, the world is watching. Will Trump's tariffs survive, or will America's highest court strike them down? One thing is certain, the next chapter of this legal and political battle is only just beginning. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Dynamic Trends for more in-depth coverage of politics, economics, and global news. And be sure to check the link in the description for our list of 10 Amazon products you'll love. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.